My question is,
Yes.
what has happened for you to now start to grieve? Because I felt that I was grieving alone. I knew you cared, but you didn't show it. You didn't show your grief.
Yeah, that's fair to say. As I've said, I've bottled it up because from a guy's perspective, it was important to have... It was important to know that we could get through this. And if I was a mess, and you were a mess, well then we're pretty well fucked. That's what I believed. So I bottled it up as best I could. I think there's a number of factors as to why now. I think it is... I think the first one is, as people say, finding your tribe. We found our community, and it, and as much as you think you've got through it, for me it made me confront it, because it was there, and it broke down the wall, so to speak, a bit. And I also think age. I've realised now I'm not as resilient as I used to be. You know, when I was 25, it was like, felt like I was bulletproof, and you know what it was like at 25, doing all sorts of stuff. And everyone used to say, "Oh, nothing seems to bother Michael." And so I'm not as resilient anymore. I don't have the capacity to bottle things up as best I did. It now comes out in, well, emotion is one of them. So I think Fertility Fest was another one, just like you, because it made you as warm and as lovely and as great it was. It also makes you confront it, and obviously I hadn't dealt with it as well as you had. So that was another sort of chip in the wall. And on that same holiday, when we went to Ireland, I think that had a major impact as well. When so, as you know, doing the family tree, got a bit of an obsession with it, and so when we met Colin McGeary, and thanks to Kate and Helena for organising that was really great. He was very passionate about the family tree, and so he was able to show me things. And as morbid as it sounds, he took me to the grave of, what I forgot to mention, because I know you know, but you don't. I'm the 5th generation of Michael Hughes, and I've always felt proud of that. I've always liked that, because it gave me a sense of belonging. Yeah, I'm my father's son, but I'm not my father. So I have my own identity. But the name said a lot. It gave you a sense of where you've come from. And so when Colin took me to, you remember when we went out for dinner, and you girls are chatting, and Colin says, "Come with me." We get in the car. We drove up the road, and he said, we stopped on the side of the road and on the hard shoulder, got out, and he goes, "You see up there? Just see where that white mark is, and that fence, that stone wall. That's where Michael Hughes and Catherine Skevington live." and that was 5 generations ago. And then, of course, when he took us to the graveyard and said, "This is where Michael Hughes, the first Michael, well, what we believe is the first Michael Hughes. It may not be. It might be one of many, but morbid, I know. But it gave me a sense of belonging. It gave me a sense of where I had come from. But the flip side of that, of course, is that it all stops with me. It all stops with us. And we've always talked about how we'd always have a Michael, and I look forward to that. It was, I look forward to, because I think I'm a nice guy, and I look forward to raising one that would be as well.
You would have been a wonderful father.
And I think, and as we see the young children around us grow, that's what gets me. I've always seen kids as being babies as being high maintenance, and you know me, I don't do high maintenance. But as you see the children grow and you see the way that their parents have moulded them, like Olivia and Harry, our niece and nephew, as an example, or Troy's kids. You can see, because we knew where Troy came from, and we see what he's done. He and Sandy have done with their kids, and those around us have done a great job, and that's what gets me, is now that they're mature and they're at the relatively high maintenance part of their life, I think I could have done a good job as well, and that gets me. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Yeah.
My next question is, did you ever blame me for us not having children, or did you ever think that you could move on and have children with somebody else?
That's 2 questions. All right, I'll answer the first one in that no. I've never blamed you. I've never thought that way. I've always seen it as our problem. It's always been our problem. And
what about when I was at my peak of depression, the curtain time?
The curtain time. So, shall I explain about the curtains?
Which I've only just found out recently.
Oh, bollocks. You knew.
No.
I've talked about that before. I have. You're just getting old and forgetting stuff.
No, I didn't realise that it affected you that much.
So, for those who don't know, we wrote about it in the blog, remember?
Yes.
So anyway, for those who don't know, when we were, and it was, I say we were at a lowest ebb, because IVF wasn't working, and you were devastated, and I'm trying to keep it all in so that we can move on from this. Vicky had a habit of keeping curtains closed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if she had, she was feeling really bad. And so I'd have to I'd rock up home in the car, see the curtains closed, and I'd drive around the block once or twice to sort of gather the strength to come into the house and deal with what was inside. But no, I've never blamed you, because I've always seen it as our problem. You know.
So why didn't you talk to me about the curtains back then?
Well, you got enough on your plate. I don't need to burden you with that as well. Or I didn't need. My belief was I didn't need to burden you with that as well. I'll just deal with it. That's my belief.
But don't you think we should have dealt with it together?
Yeah, of course. Now in hindsight, yeah, of course. But I just didn't feel that you had the capacity to deal with that, because you were dealing with your own grief.
Yeah, but I was dealing with that in isolation. I would be crying in the shower. I'd cry when you were at work, because I didn't think it mattered to you as much.
Well, I can appreciate that now. I can appreciate that. I think probably 15 years ago I probably had the shits, thinking, what do you mean? But now we've immersed ourselves into the childless community in a much bigger way. I appreciate what you mean. And look, I just thought I was doing the best I could. You know, I'm not saying it was the right behaviour, but I just thought I was doing the best I could.
Okay.
Question number 2, there was a second part of that. Did I ever feel like I should move on with someone else? No. Had this discussion with someone the other day, actually.
Really?
At work. Young girl at work who she said to me that her boyfriend would leave her if she couldn't have kids. He's made that quite clear. And that pisses me off, because why did you get married in the first place then? They're not married, but you know, why do they get together? Why do they stay with each other if that sits between them? Because what I'm trying to say is that I got married to you because of you. I didn't get married to you because I wanted you to be a baby making machine. I got married to you because I love you. And babies, yes, great. That's the next step. But for us, it didn't happen, and that's life for us. But I got married to you, not the thought of you being a baby making machine.
Okay, so my next question is, why the podcast? Why be involved? Why are you putting yourself involved?
Why involve myself in this community?
I mean, I'm really proud of you, and I think you're doing a wonderful job.
How long we got? This might take a while. Well, you know what I'm always like. I have a firm belief that we should all give back to our community, regardless of what community it is. So I spent 10 years in a volunteer rescue association. It wasn't glamorous. You were trudging through the bush looking for people or looking for evidence. But I remember a day when someone thought that someone had jumped off a cliff, and everyone was called out to go and search for this person. Now, at the time, that's what the belief was. And the parents of this person turned up, and they were so as harrowing as it was to be around them, trying to, and I didn't want to be around them, and we didn't have to. The police were looking after them, but they were so grateful. They were so grateful that just ordinary people were out there helping them look for their daughter. And you say to yourself, well, if there was no people like this, what would our world be like? If there was no people helping each other, what would our world be like? So I have a firm belief that we should all give back. We should all help in some capacity, in the capacity that we can. And, well, as Audrey, the psychologist, said to us too, that I might have a little bit of white knight syndrome. That, I always want to help someone. But I don't mind that. I think it's good. It's good for you. It's good for the soul. It's good. It's good for your own self. And I think the podcast is important because it's about speaking out. Our community, because it's so fractured, and it's so, and so you've talked about how you felt isolated within our marriage. And it's tenfold when you think about other people around you, because they're all producing children and you're not. So you isolate yourself even more, and their behaviour isolates you as well. But I personally don't think there's malice in that. It's just uncomfortableness because people don't know how to deal with that. So the podcast is important because it's bringing those voices together. So there's the people that are willing to talk, that and part of what we're doing now is showing people that there is value in talking, there is value in sharing your story, and not only will it help you, but it will help others or inspire others to talk and therefore get out of that isolation. That's what I believe. It's about breaking the walls of isolation. It took me 10 minutes to explain that in one sentence. Oh. Does that answer the question?
Mm-hmm. How does it make you feel when you're out with other men and they just assume you have kids?
Not that I get out much. And because we're so vocal about what we do, or maybe I'm vocal for both of us, it's not an issue for me, because everyone I know knows. That's it. But I don't stop them talking about their children either. I actually ask them about it because that's important. They're an important part of their life, and why I talk to them about it. And I must admit, the guys don't do that sort of. They don't do that bitchiness. They don't really do that sort of stuff. And they actually feel uncomfortable. As an example, I've told you this one. When I was down at Narooma last week, sitting there chatting with the plant manager about stuff for work, and we, did a little bit of personal small talk, and he asked if I had kids, and I said no. So sadly we didn't. We tried for a lot of years and it didn't work for us. And the poor bugger he didn't know what to say. But I wanted to make him feel better, because he was just making small talk, and he's going, And I started to explain, it's okay, it's all right, we've dealt with it. It's all good, mate. Yeah, it's all good. He didn't. It's almost like he wanted to cut the conversation right off there because he was so uncomfortable about it. But I didn't. I talked a little bit more about it. I talked about, you know, the role we sort of play in our blog and World Childless Week, things like that. And yeah. So he felt a little bit better after that. And I sort of mean, I think there's sometimes it could be misunderstood that, like this guy, you could see he was quite uncomfortable because he was showing empathy, but guys don't do that well. So the way he did that was trying to shut the conversation down so he didn't have to talk about it.
Well, I think that's good because I feel it's the opposite with women.
Well, you know, you got to tell me that on this side of the camera.
Okay.
She's cheating.
Shucks. I like this seat better.